Good to see you. My name is Kyle. This is the Founder's Way, episode 24. Uh, it's been quite a run, and every day is a little bit different, right?
Yes, and so it seems like a notification would have gone out that we are streaming live, and it seems to be over at my profile as well. I don't know if it is embedded in that event that I created,
Hmm.
but it's all progress. It's all progress.
Yeah. Well, let's see. I am going to go over to LinkedIn real quick and just make sure that, yes, we are streaming and we are live on LinkedIn on both channels, I think. So, congratulations.
Well, steps forward. Kyle,
Yes.
how was your week?
It's been really interesting. I've been doing a lot of and networking in person, so it's nice to get back out in the community, do some, meet people face to face, hundreds of them, and yeah. So that's been my week. Is a lot of that. How about you?
Everyone's so pleased to be back out and on the road and amongst other people after a long period of no
Absolutely.
expos and no road time and no face to face. I find it always puts people in a quite a good mood. People are just so happy to be out there and to reconnect.
Yeah, I've met a lot of interesting people.
Well, conversely, I was speaking to someone earlier today who was saying that, I've read this time and time again that people are more accepting of a digital experience now. And I was speaking to someone in marketing who was kind of saying that, well, as 3 years ago, it was really important to have kind of a high touch marketing campaign where there was emails, but as well kind of follow up calls. That people are more likely to just be accepting of kind of text messages and online forms and things of that nature, and going through a sales process. And I was interested in your take on that, Kyle.
Online. Uh,
Well, just a digital experience. So whether it's on your phone or online, are you more accepting of digital forms over someone calling you and asking you to do business with them than you were, previously?
it's interesting. We had a discussion about that at one of my networking groups yesterday morning. And, here is a discussion where it's 16 of us meeting at 7 a.m., face to face, right? And talking about digital. And I realized that, marketing is a multi channel experience these days. There's a lot, touch points. And some folks really dial into the generational differences. I'm not entirely sold on that, actually. But one thing I do know is that never has a deal been done over text.
You don't think?
Have you ever done a deal? Have you ever closed business by text?
No, but I think text as a prompt to do then business is something that's working very well for people at the moment. But what's at the other end of the text, right? Which, is it a phone call or is it a form?
Yeah.
Can someone complete a form to buy something and do business once they're prompted by a text? And so I don't know that anyone's closed business by text, but you could send a form, you can send a link, you can send like a Calendly style link to book an appointment.
Yep.
And I think that style of communication is I want to say more popular, but is more effective than previously, potentially.
Potentially. And so there are a lot of things that stand at odds with each other about this, and I'm open to all interpretations, but texting sure is convenient, up to a point. And by that I mean specifically, I could type 60 words a minute, but I only have two thumbs when I'm texting, right? So it's not very efficient. And if you add to that, I think part of the getting things done strategy, which is a specific means of productivity that some people can go get trained on. Um, one of the tenets there is turning off notifications, right? So I don't have any text notifications on my phone that go off. So I have to proactively go to the channel in order to, see what's being said. Um, I don't know. I think I still rely a lot on WhatsApp, Signal, and email more than SMS itself.
Yeah, and I think that I think there's a lot of popularity with, say, like, what is it called? Sorry, I've got someone here doing some construction today. Slack. And so Slack has been very popular because it's a communication channel that can work with APIs and be integrated with CRM. But back into the real world where people are, I think everyone is open to do text message now. I'm curious by the concept of, can you get people to have a fully digital experience? And we're continuing to experiment with that here at Amplify.
Yeah. I
But I was
mean,
wondering if you'd noticed anything in the franchise space. Are people moving to a more digital formats? Are people having frustrations because um, marketing is not the same as it was previously for in the franchise industry?
yeah, I think so. And I think part of it is that in the franchise development world, it's a highly personal experience, right? And it's highly sales driven. I stand by my assertion that no deal has ever been done by text, right? It all boils down to, can we get to a phone? Can we get to in person viewing each other? And can you buy a plane ticket in a hotel room and visit us ultimately before we get the deal done, right? And it really boils down to that is part of the process. Um, and so text might be a logistical thing, meet me here, or are we still on type of messages. And I use it for that, just as reminders. Hey, we got a call in an hour. Um,
Text as a reminder is very powerful, and I think you hit on what I find to be an important concept at the moment, is that there's so many channels of communication now, more than we've ever had before. And so I feel like the people who are able to master that and push people through an experience that is continuous and leads from point A to B is so powerful. But I think for most people, and even myself, getting lost amongst the many channels. And you named a few, right? Like, so in addition, you have all this engagement out on social media. Which social media channel are you going to choose? And then where do you bring people to? Is it a WhatsApp? Is it a Slack message? Is it a text message? And where ultimately are you trying to bring them to in a funnel? Is
yeah,
that a phone call? Is it some kind of a form online? And there's thousands of options in this day and age.
yeah, it's really crazy. And part of it also is that I hate contributing to the noise, right?
There's
It,
so much noise,
it's
but then by
noisy.
not contributing, you're not necessarily taking part in modern marketing. And so therein lies, I think, the key difference, right? How do you have a message, no matter what medium it is? How do you have a message that stands out and is helpful to people and isn't just part of the daily chaos that people face?
Yeah, yeah. There's one thing that I'm starting to experiment with a little bit more is video messaging. So,
Yeah.
I joked about it because we were talking about it yesterday morning during our networking meeting, and of course, I got to take a stab at it because it's it wouldn't be complete unless I'm making a social commentary on it. But I'm like, yeah, video messaging. For the post-literate society, you don't even have to read in order to get the message across. That's where we're
I
at.
um I like video messaging, and of course we're here experimenting with live streaming over on Reddit and live streaming on LinkedIn and some other platforms. Um, as a side note, I'm still trying to figure out how to activate my LinkedIn chat function. It seems I
Yeah.
can see chat if someone makes a comment, but something is turned off that's preventing me from replying. So offline this week, a little reminder that we can work on that, because it's always great to get engagement from people in the audience. And over on Reddit, we've had some good engagement from people in the past who've asked questions and got involved in discussions on entrepreneurship, businesses, and startups. So we do appreciate that, and I'll see if I can get that working for the future.
Excellent.
Yeah, I love the video messaging. What I find I use it for now more than I expected I would do it for, like marketing and outreach messages, which I think it is good for if you want to stand out. But I use it for a lot of internal communications because I find it really powerful when you can share a screen and have a discussion with someone and show them in real time the problem that you're having.
Yep. Yep. Totally makes sense.
And so, have you been using that for marketing? Have you found that effective? How do you go about that? What do you do?
For marketing, I do a lot of email. I do the streaming that we have done. I'm moving more towards kind of a drip feed of education. For my business in particular, it's a long sales cycle that involves a lot of education, a lot of qualification. Right? We're talking about people buying businesses, buying franchises, and they need to understand how that works. So a lot of my work revolves around that, keeping people engaged, meeting them on the regular. I use Zoom a lot, and I do a lot of things in person too. But I think, pointing out, like you said, you're integrating some things in your practice as well, in your industry, which is a different industry entirely. And so I think that tailoring, according to the needs of the industry, mine is extremely high touch. There's a lot of trust involved, right? And so by its nature, it's not that efficient. Doesn't have to be necessarily, but it has to be effective and engaging and authentic. Yeah. Um, Not that others
I
don't.
think in no matter what you do, and I think the marketing that's most effective and the social media that is most effective is is authentic, or at least feels authentic,
Yeah.
and has a benefit to people.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
for
I
you in
think,
particular, in being trusted, you provide a service that is really a benefit to people who are looking to start a business, um, which is one of the reasons you're so effective at that.
well, that's part of it. And I think the live stream is a great way to be effective, and authentic. Because we're doing this unscripted, warts and all, technical issues and all. I'm experiencing technical issues, that are right now that I won't share with you at the moment, but we'll talk about later.
All right,
Um,
offline, we've got a few technical issues we've got to sort out before next Wednesday at the same time. We will be back
yeah.
talking about business and entrepreneurship. We plan to continue to trial this and polish it up a little bit with a little bit of time. I can see your overlay is come out backwards
Is that what it's doing?
on my screen. Yeah,
Yeah. I
the bottom one's correct, but you have an overlay with your contact details that's backwards. But
Uh-huh.
that's neither here nor there. Um, So, sir, I am, as you know, Amplify is an early stage fintech in the equipment finance space, and we are really focused on embedded technologies and digital underwriting as well as automations for small businesses. And that is one of the reasons why I'm so excited about modern marketing and technologies and different ways to reach out to people and how to do it effectively. And I would be very interested to find some people in the audience who are interested in the same space as well and have any questions for us. We do like to engage with our audience, as well as to try to find some members that might like to come on to share the podcast with us or be interviewed with any business really. I was going to say with their maybe startup or new business and the challenges they're facing. That's a great discussion. But really, anyone with a business that's willing to come on and have a discussion with Kyle and I about business, the challenges they faced, how they overcame them, that would be something we'd be looking very interested to do maybe down the road in the future.
All right. Well, I'm curious. Are you still on Reddit
Um,
right now?
oh, as far as the live stream, yeah, we are live streaming over at Reddit at the moment.
All right. So I think marketing, as a topic, is like one of the biggest challenges that I'm struggling with right now, right? And it's one of those things, and a big struggle too is all that you spend on marketing, trying to be able to get that return or trying to be able to measure the effectiveness is really squishy in the digital space. Kind of going back to what you were talking about before, one of the big changes, hard to measure, right?
Really
Sometimes
hard to
we don't
measure,
know
and I
where
think
clients
there's
are coming
also a lot
from.
of there's a lot of, how do I want to put? I'll put it gently. There's a lot of people that are make big promises and charge big money, but aren't always effective.
Yeah,
There's a lot of trial and error that goes into it, and some marketing is very expensive, and that's why people are really pushed to go out and try it on their own, particularly in small businesses. In any business, you can pay big money for marketing that either isn't effective or it's just too hard to track and understand what implications it is having for your business. But the thing that's clear is that most businesses can't exist without some kind of marketing. You
it's
can't do it
true.
unless you're trying to reach out to people in some way.
Yeah. And I was, and it's funny that the conversations that I've been having, I've been face to face with a couple hundred people in the past week. And, it's, aside from, hey, what do you do? It really shifts quickly to marketing. I think a lot of people are just kind of, treading water, kind of sloppily sometimes, trying to figure out, well, how do you get out there? And, there's so many of us, I think, that are struggling with that question. So many of us that are on the other side of it too. Like we are the target of marketing. I'm sure you get phone calls and emails and texts from places all over the place, right? And you're trying to figure out how to manage the noise, right? And that signal to noise ratio is a challenge.
I find that introductory text messages, like a text message from someone that you either didn't mean to sign up with or didn't sign up with, or just a text that comes out of the blue with someone trying to sell something, I find that really off-putting.
It is.
And that's why I think the text message is such an important part of a sales process, particularly if you can think of a small business, maybe in the trade space, right? And it's raining. If they could set up automated text messages to their customers that they're not going to come by that day or that they need to reschedule, that can be really powerful. But if you are just at dinner or during the day, you're very busy and you just get a text message trying to sell you something, or saying like, hey, I'm this person, wouldn't a website be of interest? I never have personally like a good vibe about that.
No, I don't either. And I think that it's acceptable, to get a lot of unsolicited emails. I think that it's become somewhat acceptable to get unsolicited messages on LinkedIn or other social media channels, but the SMS, it's almost like, way back in the day, I used to I would only accept LinkedIn connections if I had met you or talked to you on the phone first. Right. And that's changed. I'll admit I've evolved.
But I still meet people who hold their Facebook connections like close to the vest. Like they don't want a lot of LinkedIn connections. They only want to connect with people they really know, and they want to have like a harvested group of people that they're close to. I always find that interesting.
And I got to admit, for about 12, 13 years on LinkedIn, I was the same way, where I'm only connecting. And part of it is I wanted to build a solid network of people, and that's changed a little bit. It's evolved. I can't really speak to Facebook. I don't use that, but, I think that probably applies to any social media. But yeah, if I get a text and I don't know you, I'm suspect, I'm not replying to that and here's why is now you're making me type stuff like with my thumbs.
Well, there's also so many phishing scams in the email world and the text messaging world. I get so many phishing scams on text message now, more than ever before.
I just prefer to be called. It's really what it boils down to. Call me, and don't auto call me. Be a human being. Like this guy called me out of the blue. He cold called me. He's talking about some piece of marketing a marketing solution. I was like, well, yes. And his job was to get a meeting for his boss, the CEO of that company, to do the dog and pony for a half an hour with me on, hey, this will solve all your problems and, make your teeth white and all that good stuff. And I bid, I took the call. We chit chatted for an hour. It went double and that's effective.
Everything's cyclical. So everyone got so sick of phone calls. Now they're happy to have a digital experience. At some point, they'll get so sick of that. It's going to be so refreshing when someone gives them a call. They'll just be happy to get some kind of human engagement.
Marketing is ultimately a human experience, right? You're trying to find channels to get to a human. And the more personal, authentic you can make it, the better.
Yeah. That is a good message. And did you come today with any topics of interest that you wanted to discuss? What challenges are you facing in business? You seem like you were kind of pounding the pavement, getting in front of a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean that was really the topics that we had been discussing aside from marketing was how to be effective with our time in business, right? And so, we've spent a lot of time cycles thinking about that. I've had two experiences that I think are salient to that. One was okay. What do you do with all this noise, right? And so I have the 4Ds. This is the getting things done strategy, GTD. Do it, defer it, delegate it, delete it. Right? When something comes, it can be plopped into one of those categories, right? And how you decide which one category, whether you should do it, defer it, delegate it, or delete it, is a different topic entirely. But I think a good rule of thumb is if you can get it done in 2 minutes, do it now. If you can't, do one of the other things, right? Delegate it or defer it or delete it. But I had I guess a different topic. I had an interesting breakfast this morning, very early, with a CEO of a company, a pretty big company, who was looking for advice, and it was a struggle, right? To figure out, like, why are revenues falling, why are expenses rising, what's going on here? This is a $25 million company, and I was like, go back to the mission. What does it say? Right. Okay. Here, there's 3 bullets in the mission. All right. Okay. You say you want to hire a chief such and such officer for this position that isn't core to the mission. Well, why are you doing that? Maybe it's a bad idea. And then after asking a lot of questions, what we figured out is that the lack of productivity is stemming. I mean, there's a number of reasons, but one of the big ones is that staff is getting caught up in things that aren't mission critical. They're ancillary, right? They don't add value. And squeaky wheels are getting the most airtime that are causing all this to happen, but straying away from the mission. And so that's been on my mind today, is like how to stay close to the mission. And you and I are talking about marketing, and marketing is about driving the business. What's the real mission? Is having conversations with people whose problems we can solve, right? And marketing shouldn't become the mission, otherwise we're just a marketing agency. And so I know a lot of people get wound around the axle around, do we text? Do we Slack? Do we email? What do we do? And I feel like it gets a little bit in the weeds, right? So mentally, that's where I'm at today.
I think your point about business and your point about marketing is a similar vein, right? Like, you need to stay focused. And how do you stay focused when there's all the noise? And when you're running a business, there's a lot of noise. You have partners and employees and customers and marketing and bills to pay and taxes to pay. And it can be really hard to stay focused, particularly in a small business. That's just a common theme with founders in the early stage startup spaces. There's just so much to do and not enough time in the day. And it's hard. It's hard until you can find the right partners. But even when you have a big business, you face the same problems. I've met with founders who've actually raised money, and you feel like, wow, you've been trying to raise money for 6 or 12 months, and you finally raised it. You've got $1 million. How is it? And every response has been, it hasn't changed at all. Now I've got like 20 people to hire. So it doesn't get any. You think you've accomplished something, you've raised some money. Now you can reach a different phase of the business. But actually, for most of these founders, it's just more complexity and something that's even harder to go and do next.
Yeah. Money does not solve the problem. Money comes with its own set of problems. It just changes your problems.
Yeah. Well, I guess my point as well is that depending on the size of the business and the stage that you're at, there's always problems. But I think one of the key things, and one of the key things about successful founders, is they have an innate ability to focus on what's really important for their customers and for driving revenues. And it's easy to get lost. Particularly, you get really excited about a new marketing approach. You spend a ton of time into it, only to find out it doesn't work. And so there's two sides to that. You do have to fail a lot in life. And I think with marketing, you've got to fail a few times before you find the stuff that really works. It's not easy.
Yep.
You can always just take one shot at it and hit gold. And so how do you judge between practicing, learning, and failing a few times and not getting lost in rabbit holes? There's got to be some balance there. And it's It's hard. It's hard for all businesses.
Yeah, the distractions. I'm going to admit, right now that I'm feeling pretty distracted today, just because last night I had like a server crash. Right, my main server, the one that has all my data on it, is dead. It's sitting there dead in the office over there, and I'm just sitting here like everything's fine. We're going to just keep on flying. But here's the thing: is I'm going to take a lesson from. I learned how to fly a plane a long time ago, and taking flying lessons, right? And part of that is my instructor would put me in really awkward positions, ask me to close my eyes, cut the power, put it into a stall condition, and be like, "All right, fly the plane." I'd open my eyes and I'd have to figure it out, right? You get trained. The metaphor being that in business, it's the same way. There's a lot of controls, there's a lot of variables, but first and foremost, fly the plane, right? So I got a major server crash. I have no data left. Like all of my, everything that I've owned for my entire life that's digital is poof as of last night. I'm like,
I
you
gotta
know
give you
what?
some props though for a guy who's had something pretty stressful happen. You've been playing it cool until you let the cat out of the bag there.
Fly the plane, right? We had
Sure.
this thing scheduled. I had all these things scheduled. You just got to fly the plane, right? And that's what we're doing. You focus on what's important. That's important too. Turns out everything's important. So now what are you going to do, right? I'll
And I
figure
think
it out someday.
that's probably a good mantra with which to a good thought to leave people with for the week.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so. Fly the plane.
it's hard to figure out what to focus on, but sometimes you just have to fly the plane and focus on flying the plane.
Yeah,
I'm interested to hear
lift.
about those flying lessons. Those flying lessons sounded pretty intense that you went through.
Yeah, turns out lift is pretty important. So focus on that.
Focus on lift revenues.
Yeah.
Well, Kyle, I do appreciate your time. We are still working out some of the kinks with using LinkedIn Live. We're also over on Reddit Live. We appreciate all the people who stayed logged in to watch us through our session today. We appreciate all your feedback, and we will be back at the same time, 12 o'clock EST. We will be back next week.
All right. Good to see you, Jake.
Great to see you, sir. Thank you for sharing the stream, and I will catch up with you shortly.
All right.
Have a great week,
This is
everyone.
Kyle, BrandNet. Have a good day, y'all.